Hi, I'm Jay Goldman, and you are watching Mr. Mobile on Butterscotch.com. Today, we're going to take a look at this, which is a Palm Pre, and we're actually looking at Webos, which is the software that runs on the Pre. If you'd like some more information about the hardware, check Butterscotch.com for another episode where we've taken a look at that. So this is Palm's hot new phone. A much anticipated release. It's taken them actually several years to get it into market. And one of the reasons is that they completely rewrote their operating system. This is actually a Linux-based phone. It's running something called Webos, which is Palm's new operating system. And unlike the iPhone, it can actually do multitasking. So everything you've heard from Apple that says, oh, we can't do multitasking because it's too much of a drain on the battery, well, this phone kind of proves them wrong. So maybe we'll see some multitasking in an upcoming iPhone release. So we're going to jump straight into taking a look at the software. It's actually really easy to use, and it's heavily gesture-based. The phone includes a full QWERTY keyboard down here, but it's got a big, nice touchscreen up here, and it's capacitive, multi-touch, just like the iPhone is. Down at the bottom here is what they call the gesture area, and there are a whole bunch of gestures you're going to want to master in your use of Webos. One of the more important ones is actually back, and we'll get to that one in a moment. But one of the cool things about this is we can launch different applications. They actually pop up on the screen right here. And then we can hit this little ball at the bottom, which lights up, and that takes us back into card view. So if I've got different applications running, I can actually switch back and forth between them by going to card view and then just dragging my finger on the screen to switch between the different cards. One of the other cool things about them is that the cards actually are live. So if anything's happening in that application, you can actually watch it in real time in card view. They're not just shrunk down images of the actual card. And that can be kind of handy if you're waiting for a web page to launch, for example. You can keep popping out to card view, doing something in another application and waiting for the actual page to come up. There's a launcher that includes all of the applications that are on your phone. It's a pretty standard launcher. If you've used, say, an Android phone or an iPhone, you're probably used to the kind of display of it. And it's by default on the bottom right corner of the launcher bar. And that'll just pop up a launcher here, and I can page through. There's a couple of pages of applications that come with the phone by default. I can also scroll up and down, which is a little different than the Android and iPhone launchers because those are actually just static and I can page back and forth. This bar at the bottom of the screen is actually the quick launch bar, and I can get to it even when I'm in another application. So if I'm, for example, in my contacts application, if I put my finger on the gesture bar and pull up, I actually get this neat little wave effect, and that's the quick launch bar, and any of my applications that I've put on the quick launch bar I can actually get to directly from there. So if I need to make a phone call, I can get to it without having to go back out to the launcher, go and find it, and tap on the phone icon. Inside any of the applications that require kind of a back, and that includes the browser, but it also, for example, includes things like the Contacts application, where I might be looking at the index list of contacts and then tap on one of them to go into it. I can use the back gesture to get back to that main screen. And the back gesture is just a swipe to the left from the center. You'll actually see the gesture bar lights up. There's some little LEDs in there, shows me that it's recognized the gesture, and then it goes back. So software as a whole, very easy to use, very, very nice to look at. They did a beautiful job with the aesthetics. There's a whole bunch of things in here that you'll recognize from other smartphones, and then there's some things that you won't. Down at the bottom of the screen, just above the gesture bar, is the notification area, and that's something that's actually missing from the iPhone. As things happen in the background on the phone, little notification icons pop up. And you might, for example, have some different ones indicating that you've received a few emails in different email accounts, that you've got an IM message waiting for you, and you don't have to go all the way digging through applications to get to those. You can just tap your finger on the notification bar, and that will actually pop it open on the bottom of the screen and show you those different queued up notifications. You can tap on any one of them to expand. So for example, you can tap on an IM message, and that will actually take you directly into the IM client, right to the conversation where you were having. Like any smartphone, the Palm Pre includes search, and it's actually got a universal search in it. Now, it's not quite universal, so it does search a bunch of things that are on the phone. It doesn't search a bunch of the things that are on the phone. Universal might be a bit of a misnomer. That may be something that Palm addresses in a subsequent software update. For the moment, the search software does a pretty good job at finding things like contacts, and it does a pretty good job of searching for things online, but it doesn't do things like, for example, dig into your email. You can actually access the universal search just by tapping or clicking on the ball at the bottom, which takes you into the launcher, and then just starting to type. There isn't an obvious prompt anywhere on the screen, but as soon as you start typing, so for example, if you type the word hello, you'll see that it starts matching on contacts, but then once it's run out of contacts, it also starts recommending things like search on Google, Wikipedia, and Twitter. So universal search is pretty good. It's not quite up to the iPhone Spotlight integration. I have to say that searching in email is actually missing from the phone completely. It's not in the email client at all, and it's not, in fact, in the universal search. That would be a very welcome addition, and it was actually something about iPhone 3.0 that was a big deal for me when it came out. I use it all the time. There's a feature in here though that is pretty cool and not existent on the iPhone or in fact any other platform, and it's called Synergy. Synergy is the ability to link your Palm Pre to a whole bunch of web-based accounts that are out there. So for example, it links to Google, Facebook, MS Exchange, and AIM accounts. That means that you can actually go and pull contacts directly into your phone without having to go and set up a whole bunch of sync. So if you go into the Contacts application, the first time you launch it, it will actually ask you to add accounts, and you can just add a Gmail or a Google account directly to that. It will go into that Google account, find your contacts for you, and will keep them up to date with the phone. It will do the same thing for Facebook accounts as well. Now that's pretty cool, but there's no selection at the moment about what you want to pull down. It will in fact pull down all of your Facebook contacts and all of your Google contacts. It will mix them all together into your contact book. It will keep them up to date for you, but you may not want to have everybody that you're friends with on Facebook available on your phone for contact. Something that, again, they will probably address in a subsequent software update to allow you to do a little bit of filtering. For now, though, I have to say, it's a pretty cool feature, and it does a really good job of pulling everything together. Does the same thing in Calendar, so it'll go and pull the calendars from those same places. When I went and did it, it worked really well the first time. Subsequent to that, actually, my calendar isn't showing any of my appointments. It is, in fact, aware of them because it will show me the notifications in the notification bar, and I can tap on those to go to events, but none of them are actually appearing inside my calendar. So possibly a bug that I've come across in Webos, but I was really impressed when it went and did it, and nobody else seems to be complaining of the same problem, so maybe I just have too many events in my calendar. The messaging app also does Synergy, and it integrates a little bit differently. It does instant messaging through Gtalk and AIM, but also does SMS, and it pulls it all together in one chat window. So if you've got multiple contacts to a certain contact, you can seamlessly switch back and forth with how you're talking to them and keep it all in one place. In other words, I can send an SMS to my producer, Sean. We can then start chatting over IM, and it's all contained within the same window. And we can switch back and forth without me losing track of that conversation. It's all in the same place on the phone. So Synergy actually works extremely well inside of the messaging application. I was very impressed with it there. It would be a nice addition for them to look at adding support for Facebook chat, and there are some third-party chat clients that are supporting it through the Jabber interface, so something for them to consider adding in the future. Email does a pretty good job on the phone. It's got a nice keyboard on it, so if you're somebody who doesn't like typing on the iPhone, you may actually find that typing on this keyboard is a lot easier. It does a nice thing, very similar to what a BlackBerry does, where it pulls all of the inboxes together into a single unified inbox. You can still get to the individual ones, but there is one that pulls all those messages together. And that's kind of a nice way to be able to see across all of your accounts at the same time, especially if you're used to an iPhone where you're jumping into a mailbox and then all the way back out to the account screen and then into another mailbox. That said, there isn't a way to do multiple message management. So in other words, if you want to delete messages, you have to delete them one at a time. There isn't a way to check off a bunch of them and delete them like you can on Android or like you can on the iPhone when you go into edit mode, or even on a BlackBerry where you can select multiple messages. So again, probably something that will be addressed in a subsequent software update. I did find that the deleting gesture was surprisingly hard to do. It requires a full swipe across the row, and you have to start all the way at the left and go all the way over to the right. So it's something that feels like you should be able to kind of fling them off when you don't want them anymore. They probably didn't want you to delete them by accident, but they may have gone a little bit too far in that direction. Web browsing on here is pretty great. I gotta say, it's a WebKit-based browser similar to Safari on the iPhone, same underlying rendering engine, and it does just as good a job. It's actually got a really nice ability to zoom in on particular parts of the page like you've seen in Safari, so double tapping will zoom in and come back out. Really enjoyed browsing on here. Does have an accelerometer, so you can switch it and view things with the screen sideways, which is definitely better for websites. One note about that I found though, is you'll be going through a website and hit a field where you want to type into it and enter some text. You have to turn the phone back into normal mode to get to the keyboard, so there's no way to sort of type and keep it this way because there isn't a way for the keyboard to kind of work in that orientation. One of my colleagues that I was looking at the phone with suggested that Palm may want to make the screen rotatable in a subsequent version so that I could keep it like this and have the screen go horizontal. Maybe something that they will do, or something that they'll do in a subsequent phone based on Webos. But for the moment, you can browse the web this way. You have to turn it this way when you want to type. So on the whole, I'm really enjoying the phone. I don't think for me it's going to replace my iPhone. I'm probably just a little more used to it, and I'm quite used to typing on the screen. But if you'd like a touchscreen smartphone device and you definitely want a physical keyboard rather than the on-screen keyboard, I would highly recommend you take a look at a Pre. I think a lot of the little software issues we've mentioned today are going to get taken care of in updates from Palm. There actually haven't been very many updates so far, so they're probably working on quite a large one that's going to address a bunch of the issues. And when those come out, this will actually be a fantastic device. Buying it now will mean you'll get the updates later, so I would say go for it if you're looking for a smartphone that has a physical keyboard. I'm Jay Goldman. You've been watching Mr. Mobile on Butterscotch.com. Check us out online for more back episodes, and we'll catch you next time.